Hello, this is another cold read, and like some of them you may have seen, we have our founder friend, John Cant. It's such a great name, but what is a cold read? It's essentially me saying everything that I think out loud as an investor, having invested in like hundreds of things now, but I want to say everything that I think that I might not say to the individual in the hope that founders and investors alike can see where confidence is either won or lost in a pitch deck. Because in my personal opinion, so many great ideas and great founders and great startups don't get past the first hurdle quickly enough simply through not being able to create confidence in a pitch deck. So I've not seen this deck before. I don't know anything about the company. John, we just met 5 minutes ago. I'm sorry for what's likely about to happen. All right, Redaka. International image management for e-commerce sellers. Basically organize advertising-based images, marketplace images on country, culture, language. That's how I've interpreted that. My brain says, surely this is a problem that's been solved, but let's have a look. There's a lot of flags. E-commerce is becoming more international. I mean, I do agree with that. This is one of those things that I think people think has always been true, but it's actually not. Most of the time, e-commerce is geographically local, and that's usually due to taxes and kind of import logistics. It's got less to do with the desire to buy things. And China, one of the few countries that have broken out of that, and I do know the United States, obviously, as we all know what's happening, are keen to do way more e-commerce-based exporting. I agree. E-commerce is becoming more international. Amazon's worldwide presence over time. Well, yes, that's expansion. That's not the same thing as e-commerce becoming international. Amazon keeps expanding to new countries. It's just what I said. Sellers need to adapt to multiple languages. AI exists. Images. Yeah, AI exists again. Okay, cool. Wrong image. Reduce sales. I quite like this deck already because we have what I like to call the flick test. The headlines are kind of at the top, which give you a story. I do see 18 slides, so that's a bit disappointing, but it means I'm just going to go quickly. Which product would you feel more confident buying? Well, it depends where I am, doesn't it? And that's I don't know, actually. I think you're trying to make me think the left-hand one is more confident, but I don't know if that's necessarily the case because they're not like-for-like images. Okay, 40% of people won't buy when the content isn't in their language. Yeah, I'm the same. All right, okay, I get the point. All right, here we go. Language, sell in the region, don't sell out of the region, at least make people believe that. What if sellers can translate product images instantly with zero manual work? Surely this exists. Surely this exists. What is this graph trying to say? Sales will grow. Case study. Sales when images are in wrong language. Sales when images are in correct language. Why would it change after day 4? That graph actually knocks my confidence more than adds to my confidence because it doesn't match the statement. I get the point that there are more sales in correct language than not, but it doesn't look like there was a huge impact for the first 4 days. Like a little bit, but not huge. Why does it split after 4 days? It does look like you're trying to sell a damn Fire Stick, or you're pitching a Fire Stick. Like honestly, the very first thought I actually had when I first opened the deck, I was just like, oh, not another Roku. But it's a bit more variation. Like this text is ugly as sin, so I'm not even going to read that. Market overview: 2 million businesses sell on Amazon. Okay, I get the point. Tell me how big this problem is. 0.2% of Amazon businesses, so 0.1% of Shopify businesses, so I don't understand how. I think I know the point you're trying to make, but oh god. All right, I'm kind of boring. Okay, this is interesting. Business model. Because the offering is so simple, if it's what I think it is take an image. It hasn't even been made clear actually. I'm just now interpreting. And if it's not this, then if it's not what I think it is, and I think find out something else in a few slides' time, again, it'll be one of those things that make me just lose confidence in the deck. But I like it because so far, even though it's ugly, can be okay, the reason I like it is all down to this. E-commerce is becoming more international. And my interpretation of that is country to country e-commerce is becoming more common, as opposed to within country e-commerce being the norm, driven by China and the United States in particular. And across Latin America is very common. So as an investor who knows the e-commerce market to some degree, you said something at the beginning that makes me go, I agree with you. And that's so important. All this stuff about customer, I get the point. Like, I don't care. Go to market, don't care. Unless you're already in existence. $1 per image. What? Human translations. If this is human translations, it's dead to me. Not because I think that's not valid, but because I think in about a year's time, it'll be redundant. I don't want to have to read an essay, but I'm still interested. Before building the software, our cold email campaign for image translation service had a 10% sales conversion rate. So, I mean, like, that's not bad. It's not good. There's no context to know how good that is, really. 10 customers, 421 software signups. Where's the software? You're kind of describing the output of something that you haven't described the input. Effortless infographic translation. Then what's the human stuff got to do with it? Oh, translate the text using your choice of AI, professional, or write your own translation. It all seems very confusing. Okay, I'm just going to go to traction. So the only thing I really care about. For paying customers, how much do they pay? If you don't tell me how much they're paying, then I'm not interested. Competition, don't care. Competitive advantage, time and cost, saves 36 minutes per product compared to what? Accurate and fast compared to what? Automated, but you just said there's human-based translations, so it's not automated. Supports 200 languages, but if it's human, that means you need 200 languages worth of translators, which, as you scale is going to be an issue. What? What does this mean? Why 192? Why 155,068? And then year 3, cash in hand is now 33,128. I mean, I understand when you make models, Excel or whatever you use will give you a precise number. But as an investor, the precision, strangely, this is actually a psychological bias. Precision, strangely, detracts from confidence. And one of the reasons is I can't interpret up when you give something precise. So if you were to turn around and say 35K as opposed to 33,128, even though roughly they're correct because it's a model, I would have more confidence if you just said 35K than if you said 33,128, because I can't round up in my head. This is now you telling me a precise number, as opposed to me going 35, could be 40, could be 36, might be a bit lower, but it's an estimate, so I know roughly where you're aiming, as opposed to the exact number you're targeting. So yeah, it's a really interesting effect. It happens with a lot of stuff. But what are we trying to see? I'm starting to lose faith. The reason I want to focus on this is because if this is such a big problem, your revenue should schedule to just boom. So year 1, does year 1 start? Has it started already? Because you said you've got some customers. If you're making £1.5 million, but only making 200K in EBITDA on an automated tool, that doesn't scream confidence for me either. You're going up like a third in customers, but you want to go up about just under double in revenue. From an investor's point of view, I just can't see how I'm going to get an exit from that. Okay, 10 years working in e-commerce. I've been selling on eBay for 10 years as well. Successfully exited Amazon Japan e-commerce agency. Now, if you label that for what it is, that's very different. That will, okay, fine. I would take a meeting simply because of that. Simply because of that. That's the only reason I've taken a meeting so far. I think this deck is disgusting. It's awful. But it's got something in it that makes me want to chat. I'm not even going to read any of this stuff. Like the two things that make me want to chat. This, because I agree with you, and it's not a common thing that people see. So it makes me think, I might be able to catch this trend a little earlier. And so when paired with the understanding of why you need to exist, that plus, oh, by the way, I sold a company to Amazon, or I exited it. Well, that's how it reads, actually. Now I'm reading it again. Successfully exited Amazon Japan e-commerce agency. Okay, that might not mean exited to Amazon. Probably doesn't, actually, now I'm rereading it. But that's how I interpreted it the very first time I saw it. Oh, this is a tough one. I would take a meeting simply to find out what the heck this is all about and what that exit was about. Because if I can get confidence that John and Miguel are super credible, they found a niche problem in an easy technological space, and they've got operating experience of exiting a company. And it's a niche problem that not many people seem to be paying attention to. It's an interesting possible angel investment, but because there's no real financial ambition here, it gives me a lot of concern. Like after year 3, let's just say we're going up 80% year on year at best. So at year 5, which is the important year, we're talking about 4, maybe 5 million pounds in gross profit, or in revenue. Let's go in revenue. We're talking probably about 5 to 6,000 million pounds in revenue by year 5. That's the point where I, as an early investor, might want to sell on secondaries. You might get, 5x on that, maybe. So you might get a 25 mil exit. Actually, that's not too bad for an angel. It's not good enough for a VC. But yeah, not a bad deck, even though it's disgusting. But it's strangely not bad because the important things are clear. Niche problem, possibly a good founder, and lots of words. All right, there's my cold read. All right, John, what you got to say for yourself?
I'm all ears there, basically. Your interpretation, I didn't sell the agency to Amazon. It was when I said we're an Amazon Japan agency, it means that we helped brands to sell on Amazon Japan. I sold my shares of the agency to my business partner to give me the freedom to start the software business, basically. The slide that you're on now, I basically just copy and pasted from my financial model spreadsheet. And as soon as you opened it up, I thought, bloody hell, this looks confusing.
Let's see if we can kind of rework this a little bit and see if there is something to go on. So you're trying to raise 250K. Tell me about what you've achieved so far, not from a fundraising point of view, but from a company building point of view.
Before I started building the software, I contacted some Amazon businesses and basically said, do you want your images translating into another language? I contacted 20 businesses, and that generated about £800 worth of me just translating people's images for them in a manual way. Lost money because it was a pain in the arse to do the actual translation work, but that wasn't the point of it. The point was to see if there was any demand for this type of service. That kind of gave me enough confidence to basically invest some money into turning it into a tech product. And then we've been working on it for sort of the past year and a bit, basically. We've released two versions, and we've got a new version coming out soon in the next 2 to 3 weeks, which I'm hoping is going to be the sort of commercially viable version of it. The one where I mentioned the sales there, I said we've got 4 sales so far. It's been like £500 worth of sales, kind of almost nothing. And the feedback from talking to users, from these sort of 421 users that have signed up for it, is basically, it's not reliable enough in its current state, so we can't really use it. But we're interested in what you're doing. Come back when it actually works, kind of thing.
There's a lot of things that an investor like myself will interpret from what you've just said that may or may not be true. So, for example, you said you've been working on the tech side of this for over a year, but the 421 signups say it's not ready. That often signals that you're probably not tech founders.
Yeah, we've been, kind of bootstrapping this. My software developer, he's kind of fresh out of university, so he's probably not the most experienced developer. The budget I had available to spend, I couldn't afford kind of a super experienced person. So, but he's working hard.
So you said this is your first kind of attempt at raising money. One of the things that is very common is looking at how people get things done without money.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a really important signal. It's a very strong indicator of how somebody will then use the money when they have it. And, investors are essentially buying a discount on an exit. That's what an investor really does, is I'll give you money now to have more money back later in exchange for you getting some speed. That's really what fundraising is for. I want to know that you're at your fastest speed. And so one of the things that I look for in any investment, in where the founders aren't originally tech founders, is how they've kind of shortcut that.
Mm-hmm.
And there are many ways. You can use things like Bubble, or you can use kind of lots of different machine learning models to kind of recreate images. And it's those, I'm not saying you should do that. I'm just saying that's a hack you could do to prove that you are, as founders, going as fast as you can with the resources you have. And so hearing over a year where right now the end user doesn't feel as usable says that if this is the fastest you go, it's not very fast.
I think this is one of the frustrations I've got, that I know that we're not going as fast as we can go, and that's sort of the attraction of investment, really, to go faster. But
no. So you said something very important there, and I want to make sure that we're both saying the same thing. Is if you're saying that this is as fast as you can go and you need investment to go faster, it's not attractive.
Yeah.
But if you were to turn around and say, could go way faster, then go faster and then raise money. From a pitch deck point of view, what could be better is to present this as a little bit earlier than you actually are, because then you're not making a claim which can be attacked so easily. You could essentially say, we've been hustling on the side as a hobby to see if we can make this. As of, 6 weeks ago, we had 421 people try and use it. We just thought, hey, screw it. Let's see if anybody wants to use it. 421 gave it a go and went, oh, we want this. Can you make it better? We're like, shit, let's go raise some money. And then that's a different story with the same facts.
Yeah.
I also think your pitch could be way, way shorter. There's lots in here which I just don't believe needs to be in a deck. But let me ask you a couple more questions. What, on the right-hand side, what does this case study?
That was a case study of a 14-day period selling the same product, one with the pictures in the right language and one with the pictures in the wrong language, kind of thing. So that's the reason that I think you were a bit confused by the ups and downs. That's just sort of the ups and downs of sales within, not the sales aren't exactly the same every day, right? There's always going to be ups and downs. So what I should be doing there is basically saying that the total sales with the right pictures is maybe £7,000, and the total sales with the wrong pictures was £4,000 or something.
Yeah, that's a much more compelling argument. Yeah. Again, same facts, just presented differently. The time to translate images for one product.
So the usual way of doing this now is like with either Photoshop or Figma or Canva kind of thing. So you've got that aspect, you've got your graphic designer using those tools, and you've got a separate translator doing the translation work. But the platform that we're building, it basically reduces the time so that you don't need to be a graphic designer to use it, and you don't need to be a translator to use it. But it's just a tiny bit of editing work required at the end. So it takes like 1 minute to do one image instead of all the sort of, the admin, the surrounding admin, as well as finding a translator and as well as employing a graphic designer.
Might be suffering from a very common founder curse, which is trying to tell everything that you feel is important in your head, as opposed to saying the important things that an investor wants to hear. And by trying to tell me everything that you feel is important for you, you're kind of making me question, as an investor, I see something and go, well, that's not important for me. And in some cases, I'm like, that actually looks negative relative to other things. So you get what's called perception dissonance. And it's this idea of saying one thing, this makes it sound really good, but then when I look at this, it makes it sound really bad. And that dissonance then overarchingly means that I'm less likely to engage with the rest of your content. So I think I know how I would pitch what you're doing to get a meeting at least. And obviously I'm a believer you can't polish a turd. So I'm not saying this is a turd at all, but I am saying if it is one, this might get you another meeting, but it ultimately won't help overall.
The door will stay shut at the end. There is.
Exactly. You can still smell it when you get close. So, I would probably open something on the lines of the dramatic rise of international sellers selling across borders, and then put some kind of stat to it. It's gone up, 300% in the last 5 years. So looking forwards, the rise of, Shein and Temu and, the American tariff system and all the retaliatory trade wars, which are almost certainly going to happen across the next 4 years. This selling from one country to another is only going to get more, bigger, and harder. So slide 1. Slide 2. What people do right now is I would make it look disgusting, like Photoshop, Figma, Canva, Illustrator, all the various tools that they may use. And then in the corner, make it really clear that the person that needs to master these tools is like a mom and pop shop selling some, teddy bears that they knit in their spare time. And you're kind of like, how are they going to compete and learn these tools? And then you can say, then I would lean and say, we are targeting the Amazon and Shopify-esque marketplace sellers. Those that do not have the big budgets, the big skill sets, the big teams. And we have created a tool that drives what would normally be 50 minutes down to 1 minute of translation using AI shortcut. So, and then the important thing is you say, this is 50 times faster, which then you say equals 50 times cheaper, which equals 50 times more accessible. Then the next slide could be, hi, I'm John. This is my co-founder, Miguel. We are repeat founders who have exited agency businesses in the past. We know how to put ourselves in the middle between someone who sells and someone who buys. That is our sweet spot. That's what we do better than anybody else. Now, to test this, we spent the last 12 months as a hobby, casually building it in our shed. 6 weeks ago, we wanted to know if some of our agency friends might want to use it. 520 signed up immediately. And those 520 said they would pay this much if it was available to them today. We're raising money because we're only 6 weeks away from deployment, and we need a war chest to help us through the inevitable twitches and turns and, go-to-market learnings that every good, fast-paced AI startup needs a war chest for. We're raising an SEIS, keeps the risk profile low. However, if we get this right, by year 5, we are looking at anywhere between 25 and 100 million in ARR as a result of that. My name is John. Give me a call.
Okay.
Something like that.
Yeah. It's laying out the most important points of the story and threading it together, right?
Some people criticize my cherry picking, which I respect. That's fine. But the reason cherry picking is perfectly valid is because when you're a founder, you pivot 100 times within the early parts of your journey. Some of them are major, so they become official pivots, and many of them are minor. And you pivot based upon learning what works and what doesn't. And so this is just another version of those things. We're cherry picking the story around the things that seem to work, as opposed to the things that may or may not work. We're only saying the most confident things. So there is nothing wrong with cherry picking in my view. And if in diligence people start going into the detail, you say, yeah, look, we're trying shit. We're just trying to see what works.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about your deck. That's how I feel about the way it's presented. It's not really a comment on, as I said at the start, it's not really a comment on you or the company. It's a comment on the way it's presented. I can totally see how this could be a really good thing. My questions would all be around, surely others are doing this. And surely more generic tools will be doing this soon, whether it's the Firefly from Adobe or whether it is Canva or whether, if there's some kind of way of saying that we take fully finished stock and translate it, that would be powerful as heck. That would be like, somebody's just given us a PNG. Yeah, and we translated that.
That's what we do. Sorry, exactly.
I want to make that clear.
That's exactly the point of it.
That's what I was hoping, but it's not clear.
Right.
All right. If that is genuinely what you do, this pitch needs rewriting. And I think it will be quite attractive to a high-risk angel investor pretty early.
Right. Okay.
And so long as you can demonstrate that yourself and Miguel are like capable and competent, fast business builders. Anyway, there we go.
Yeah.
Helpful. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you. No, thank you for all the comments.
Yeah, good luck to you, and I wish you all the best. And keep me up to date. Actually, I would like to see how this goes.
Cheers.
Take care.